Hi there, this is Dr. John Whitcomb talking about how autism can be diagnosed with a hair sample. Very interesting study. Started in Japan with 220 children in Japan who had 1-year-old kids, had 1 centimeter of hair, less than half an inch, removed, and the outer layer of the hair removed. This is pretty delicate stuff. And then using a mass spectrometer, 650 measurements over the length of that hair. And that's how delicate and nuanced a mass spectrometer can be. And it can measure everything in the hair. And they measured some 560 different measurements in the hair, including heavy metals that are toxic and some necessary metals like zinc and copper. Very interesting. They don't reveal exactly what it was they measured. They call that proprietary. But their results came out showing greater than 80% accuracy. Greater than 80% accuracy. And this is at age 1. Now recognize that autism isn't diagnosed typically till age 4 or 5. This is a tool that allows us to look forward and possibly make changes while there's still a chance to be made. The authors are a little bit coy by not telling you what the studies were, but they claim that their methodology will work, which means it's now being fast-tracked by the FDA to be a medical test, for which I'm sure there will be billing. And so it's got economic issues attached to it. But nevertheless, 80% is pretty cool. It's also pretty cool to be diagnosed if you're negative. What's my interpretation of this? I think this is a huge leap forward. And what it points to is that it's not one item that's making autistic kids sick. It's a whole ecosystem. It's the environment the child is living in. And it fits perfectly with the plasmalogen hypothesis we entered last week. And that is, the plasmalogens are deficient in the white matter in kids with autism. And what are plasmalogens? They are the ultimately most liquid of liquid membranes. We couldn't have a central nervous system without them. They are very liquid and very flexible, which allows the embedded proteins to move quickly. So you as a human being can understand things, can sense the world, vision and hearing and speech very quickly. Rigid fats don't move quickly, but plasmalogens can shape-shift and they can change their shape, and that's partially because they have fish oil as part of their structure. Well, plasmalogens also are the antioxidants of first resort. They have a vinyl ether bond that's actually on the surface of the cell, and that means plasmalogens they protect the nerve from oxidizing chemicals. That's how they work, but then that depletes the plasmalogen, which means if you have an inflammatory state, you can have a feed-forward system whereby you have an inflammation getting started, releases hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide uses up the vinyl ether bond in plasmalogens, and suddenly you've lost a plasmalogen. You have less plasmalogens to maintain the integrity of your nerve cells, and your nerve cells start misfiring. So inflammation of the gut, inadequate vitamin D, inadequate fish oil, any of the known risks we know there are for autism, all could be also explained by then a feed-forward system whereby you don't have adequate plasmalogens, suggesting that if we give you enough plasmalogens to break that vicious cycle, kids can get ahead. So you can stop drinking A1 milk, you can get supplemented with vitamin D, you can stop eating sugar that makes your gut dysfunctional, and all of those things, stop eating wheat, which makes your gut dysfunctional. All of those things then contribute to autistic kids having a chance to improve. But foundational might be taking plasmalogens. What will work for me? I think everybody should be on plasmalogens over 50 because we start losing them after 50. So adults should be clearly are at risk for losing them and developing cognitive issues. But it may be autistic kids too, maybe all children until they're safely past the age of autism. Or maybe all children should be breastfed as long as possible, because the longer you breastfeed, the less autism you have. And breast milk is the highest food source of plasmalogens. Interesting. Dr. John Whitcomb for News and Nutrition. We can diagnose autism with a hair sample, and that supports the plasmalogen hypothesis.